What up, what up, what up, what up, good people? How's everybody doing? Starting off solo, but maybe I'm not starting off solo.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, guys. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Breakfast with
the Brooks.
The Brooks. For those of you all who are just jumping in, maybe by replay, perhaps you are new to the program. My name is Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I am an author. I'm a speaker. I'm a coach, and sitting right here trying to get herself together. Next to me is the lovely, fantastic, beautiful
Cherie Brooks Jr., author, speaker, relationship, and life balance coach. It's a pleasure to be with you guys this morning. Hope you are having a lovely Saturday morning. Although it is raining here in Hampton Roads, but we're going to still make it a great day.
Make it a great day, guys. Listen, we're not going to be before you guys very long. We've got the grands. Had a sleepover last night, so that's an added bonus to our day. And
it's going well so far.
Actually, we had a good time last night. It was made pizzas, regular pizzas for them, and the keto-friendly pizzas for us.
Yes,
cauliflower crust. She killed it. If you didn't know, go to my IG page and Glenn P. Brooks Jr. at Glenn P. Brooks Jr. on Instagram. Check out my stories, and you'll see how fantastic of a job she did. So I'm just grateful for that. Karen, thanks for jumping in the room. Good morning. Good morning. You're so silly. Good morning. Listen, guys, we're going to jump right into the subject matter today really quickly. For those of you all who don't know as well, we created an online relationship academy entitled MAPS. Tell them a little bit about MAPS, babe.
Right. MAPS is Marriages and Parenting Relationship. Marriages and Parenting.
It's right here, baby. You need to read it. I did it like that for you, just in case you stumble.
It's rewind.
Hit play.
MAPS is Marriages and Parenting Successfully Relationship Academy.
You go, girl.
That's a mouthful. And it is an online academy that we developed in order to provide.
And it's on your shirt, so in case you need to remind yourself, I'm just telling you.
That we developed in order to be able to provide couples and parents support.
Yep.
One thing that we learned over our years of being married and being parents and being married
19 years in a row
and previous marriages is that one thing in order to have successful relationships is that you have to have community. You cannot do relationships by yourself. You can't do it isolated. You know, that old adage that goes on in this house stays in this house. It doesn't really work.
No, it don't work at all. As a matter of fact, you can do it. We call it doing relationships in silos, but silos are designed to store things. They're not designed to grow things. Listen to me carefully. When you put something in a silo, it's designed to store grain or store wheat or store milk or store something, right? You don't grow it there. You grow it out in the community of the garden, right? So that it can receive the sunlight. Or an incubator.
And so MAPS is like an incubator.
Incubator. Yeah, absolutely. And so you just are full of $20 words today, aren't you? You go, girl. So the truth is, guys, and we're having some fun. But the truth is that when you grow in community, when you grow in an incubator, when you grow in a garden, in an environment that provides the nourishment for your situation, it turns out healthy. Right. And I think that unfortunately, so many people's relationships are unhealthy. And today we're going to talk a little bit about couples, particularly, especially if you're not married yet. We're really going to help you out. Because the truth is that there's a way to do that relationship in such a healthy way that you benefit on the back end, right? So Cherie and I, in this relationship academy, one of the things that we do, we love the group coaching environment there because it gives you the opportunity to hear from other people who've been there, who've done that, who's trying to figure it out. Who's growing intentionally, right? And so because of that, you get the benefit of being around that group on a consistent basis. And I think that if we both could probably agree that in our previous marriages, it was because of the absence of that we failed.
Right. We tried to do it on our own. And the danger in that is that you're only approaching your relationship from your perspective. You don't get to hear other people's perspective. You don't get to hear wisdom from other people that have done it. That
Absolutely.
are there, that have been through what it is that you're going through. Newsflash, most issues that you face in a relationship, somebody else has gone through that before.
Please say that again.
You're not the only one most situations that you deal with in relationships, somebody else has gone through it. And most people that have successful relationships, even though it may look perfect on the outside, they've gone through their stuff. Now, it may not be gross, major issues, but they've gone through some stuff enough to be able to help you navigate how to deal with certain situations, how to avoid certain situations,
right.
Because they've been able to successfully navigate through that.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing. Relationships are a journey.
Yep.
You have to approach them that way. It's not, okay, we get married and we're married now.
We's married now.
That's the beginning of the process. That's the beginning of the process.
Welcome to the world of you just got started, right?
Right.
And I think that, Cherie, one of the things that's super powerful about what you just said is that when you decide that, you know what, this is the beginning, like everything else, is infancy in its state and in its condition. And so as a result of it, there's a whole bunch of needs that you have in the beginning that as you get some traction and as you kind of grow a little bit, you may not need that as much, or maybe in that kind of a way. And so MAPS, our Relationship Academy, helps us to be able to provide an environment to give that to people in a way that really, when they take it away and they apply it to their lives, it changes the game for them. John Carolino, thanks for jumping in the room, brother.
Good morning, Karen.
Welcome, Karen. It's good to see you again, guys. Do me a huge favor. Tag somebody, particularly if they are a couple, whether they're married or not. Share this out with as many people as possible, because today we're going to talk about part 2, fixing broken fences, part 2 of fixing broken fences. If you did not catch last week's replay, do me a favor and go to our YouTube channel. We are finally deciding to show our YouTube channel some love. Subscribe to it if you will, because this is where we're going to begin parking all of the replays for Breakfast with the Brookses. And as we go along, we got some great things in store for that YouTube channel. So we definitely want you to go and subscribe to the YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/the CR Coach. And there you can get all of the replays. So part 1, you'll get there now. And then today we're going to talk about part 2 of fixing broken fences. When we talk about fixing broken fences, Cherie, relationally, what we're really talking about is a boundary. Right. And so help us understand really quickly, when we talk about boundary, what is a boundary?
A boundary in a relation, a boundary, if you think about a physical boundary, it is a fence. It's, a demarcation of where your property begins, where another person's property ends. In relationships, boundaries aren't visible like a fence, but boundaries are something you put in place to protect a certain area, a certain part of you from the outside world. And it also is used to protect you from influences from the outside. So a boundary for me, for example, is that I'm not a fusser. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to that whole screaming down, you going, I don't do that. That's a boundary for me. We can have a conversation. We can have a heated conversation, but it's not going to elevate to that level where you're barking at me. Because for me, that's a boundary, because that shuts me down emotionally. So if you want to have a conversation with me, you have to respect my boundary, and we can sit down and we can talk. And if that means we need to table the conversation till you're not emotional,
right,
so that we can talk, then that's my boundary.
So when we go back to talking about property lines, guys, we're talking about what you own and what you have control over. And today I want to talk a little bit about that, because in a physical situation, it's easy for me to tell, look, my fence says that my property ends there. So therefore, that's the part of the lawn that I'm going to mow. That's the part of the lawn that I'm going to take care of. I'm going to nourish. I'm going to do everything that I need to do to make sure that my property looks good. I'm not worried about my neighbor's lawn who may not be mowing it at all. Well, let me say it this way. I'm not worrying about caring for it. Right. I do worry, or I may be concerned about the fact that it's causing the entire neighborhood to look crazy, but that's a whole nother issue. But in terms of that's not my responsibility to care for his lawn or her lawn. So in relationships, oftentimes we find ourselves feeling responsible for caring for things about people that don't belong to us. I'm going to say that again. Feeling responsible about caring for certain things in other people that don't belong to us. And so early on, you and I went through this whole piece when it came to communication, and it was a thing because you often just wouldn't communicate. And then I felt responsible to make you feel like doing that.
Right.
To make you, in other words, let me say it this way. So if you're not communicating, you're not telling me where you are, you're not telling me what's on your mind. What happens is it causes me to wonder.
Right.
And if I'm not careful, I will start filling in blanks of things that, quite frankly, that ain't my issue. That's not my concern. Or I may now see on your face that you're upset. And so if I'm not careful, I will take on the responsibility of making you happy.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. And it's not your responsibility you're not responsible for another person's emotions. And so if a person is upset, now, if you did something to cause it, you apologize, you move on. But what they're feeling, you're not responsible for that. So if even an example, so say I experience a loss. I'm sad, I'm upset. It's not your responsibility to entertain me or to make me feel better, in the sense that now you're jumping through hoops to make me feel better.
So let me try it this way. In other words, if you experience a loss, and we've gone through that, our granddaughter, our first granddaughter passed away at 11 days old. That's not super news. And it was a number of years ago, 8-9 years ago now, whatever.
Well, let's go back.
Okay.
I got an even better example.
Okay.
So when we found out our daughter was pregnant. Him being a father, he went through his issues, his emotions with accepting that. It was not my responsibility to make him okay with that.
Right.
It was my responsibility for me to handle my emotions with that situation and deal with her accordingly. He had to go through his process. I had to allow him the room to go through his process without me every day. So you okay?
Right.
So you okay?
Right.
So you okay?
Right. And so what I'm saying there, guys, is literally, if you're not careful, you will take the onus. You will take on the responsibility of saying, you know what, it's my job to make you feel okay. So my questions to you guys are this. Do you find yourself unable to get your point across without arguing? Is there an elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about? Number 3, do you find yourself just avoiding conversations that are hard to have? If you answer that, and I posted that earlier in the chat, in the feed, that says if you answer that, then you probably have a problem with an unbroken with broken fences or with unhealthy boundaries. And when we talk about unhealthy boundaries, it's not healthy for me to make her feel a certain type of way.
Right. And
it's not healthy for me to make her feel like to make her feel happy. Now, it is my responsibility to be nice.
Right.
It is my responsibility to be cordial. It is my responsibility to be respectful. It is my responsibility to cater to her to a degree in terms of human nature. You get what I'm saying? I'm not going to just completely blow past the fact that she's upset about something. Right. That's not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about is fixing that.
Right, right.
And that's a new issue.
Right. And typically with men, this is more of a problem than it is with women. Men have this innate thing in them that whenever the woman is upset or going through something, they want to just fix it.
Yeah.
So there are times I may come and share something with Glenn, and I'm just sharing him, say something happened at work or whatever, and I'm sharing with him how I'm feeling about a situation. His first response is he goes into fix it mode. Number one, that's not your responsibility.
Let me tell you what you do about this.
Right. Number one, that's not your responsibility.
Right.
Now, if I ask you
what do I
to
think?
do that, then fine. But if I'm just sharing, that's not your responsibility. And what happens a lot of times in unhealthy people that have unhealthy boundaries, you will go into action to fix something that's somebody else's problem. And now you're taking on the responsibility of that, but that's not your responsibility.
So what that does, guys, is it breeds problems that create unhealthy scenarios. I'll give you a quick example. There are some of you guys who are stressing out about somebody else's situation. Listen to me really, really carefully. You are stressing out about someone else's situation that has nothing to do with you.
Right.
However, because that somebody else is your husband, because that somebody else is your boyfriend, because that somebody else is your girlfriend, your daughter, your child, your whatever, you now are misunderstanding that, and this is fundamental with boundaries, there are some things you're responsible to, but then there are some things you're responsible for.
Right.
So I'm responsible to my wife, but I'm not responsible for her. She's a grown woman. She's responsible for herself.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? And if you're not careful, you'll take this position that because I'm her husband, I am responsible for her, and not responsible to her. So in other words, if she has a bad day at work or whatever, and she comes home and she's, fussing about maybe, or just upset really about what went on in the office. If I'm responsible for her, now I'm going to go fix that problem.
Right.
If I think that I'm responsible for her happiness, here's how the thought goes. The thought goes, I can't believe that they said that to you. Are you serious right now? Well, and look, I promise you, I know people who've picked up the phone and called a coworker of their spouse and said, let me explain something to you. You don't get to talk to my wife. No, it's like, bro, are you serious? Really? And the reason why is because, and it's no disrespect to the person, beautiful human being. The problem is that this person mistook and misunderstood that they were responsible to their spouse, not for their spouse.
Right. And another great example is, and this happens a lot of times, with when your children become teenagers or they become adults. As parents, we often take responsibility for things that they're responsible for. So let's say you got a child in high school. At this point, they're mature enough and old enough that they can be responsible for their own schoolwork. That's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. Unless they have some intellectual
disabilities or whatever,
they should be responsible enough to make sure they turn in their homework.
Absolutely.
But parents in high school will the child has a project due, they wait to the last minute. You getting up, going run to the store the night before,
fussing the whole time.
You get on my nerves. You want to sit up all night and do their project. That's not your responsibility.
I can't believe
because you don't want to let them fail because
somehow that says
something about you.
Absolutely.
No, that's their responsibility. We had to practice that with our son, and as hard as it was at times, we had to allow him to fail in certain areas because he was responsible for that. It was not my job. I wasn't in school.
Right.
I got a job.
Right.
I'm not in school.
And so you're going to have to take that F.
So you have to take that responsibility.
You're going to have to take that F. And Cherie, I think that a lot of times you said something that was really key. A parent often will take that personal, that my child failed a class.
Oh my God, I failed.
Oh my God, I have failed my child. No.
They failed
themselves because they didn't do their work. And here's the problem. The problem is that when you do not allow boundaries or you don't allow consequences to take their natural course, what you're actually doing is disrespecting that person.
Right.
I'm going to say that again. When you do not allow the course of natural consequences to play themselves out, what you're doing is, and you usurp that particular course of action and you decide to jump in and now you're going to fix this or fix that. What you're doing is you're disrespecting, one, the process, and you're also disrespecting the person.
Right.
And the reason why is
you're enabling them. At that point, you have now enabled that person. And now you are teaching them that they don't have to own their own stuff. As Karen just said on the line, it can be hard, but she's gotten to the point now that she's with her daughter. She's gotten to the point that she has to own her own stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to allow people to own their own stuff, that allow them to own their own emotions, own the things that they're responsible for. Now, of course, that has to be age appropriate. If you got a 5-year-old and they forget their project, well, number one, you should be on top of what is due for them. So it should never come down to the day before, because you should know what your 5-year-old has due, because they're not mature enough to remember or have a calendar to know that. And so part of that is your responsibility for a child that age. But when they get to middle school and high school, you have to start giving them those responsibilities.
Yeah.
And even when they're grown, and this is really a big problem with parents with grown children, they going through in their relationship or they going through with their situation, and you jumping in and fixing stuff, they're grown. Now, if they come and ask you for assistance, that's one thing. But you going to fix it, or you going behind the scenes, or you see that they struggling and you like, oh, well, how am I going to help them? How am I going to let them figure it out?
Guys, let me say this, and I will add this last piece to that same equation and that same issue. Not only do you disrespect that person when you don't allow consequences to play out their natural course or the course that it would normally play, but you also take their power away from them. And so hear me really clearly. There's a difference between enabling and empowering. And I talked about that a little bit, I think, last week. You want to be a parent. You want to be a spouse. You want to be in relationship with people that empower you. You do not want to be in relationship with people that enable you, because to empower you means I am going to give you the tools specifically to handle this situation. If I change the oil on your car all the time, or real talk, if I drive, we're going somewhere and I always do all the driving. That means I'm not empowering you to figure out the way to go to a specific place, so that on the day that I either can't drive or I'm not with you, you don't know where you're going. And let's say your phone died, and so you don't have any GPS. So you're lost, you're frustrated, and you're trying to figure out what in the world is going on because you're not empowered. Enabling looks like, well, I'll just drive. Does that make sense? That's a real situation. I didn't make that up. You get what I'm saying? That's a real scenario. And explain that to them.
And so, like, using that situation, that particular example, for me, because we're still, well, for me, it seems like we're still new here in the Hampton Roads area. I drive to and from work. Whenever we go anywhere else, Glenn typically drives. But more recently, you know, I've had to drive places, and of course, yes, I have my GPS, whatever. But I realized that because he drove all the time, that had enabled me in a sense, because, you know, when you're a passenger, you're not paying attention to where you're going. That's you're just riding. And so hence the
word pass, passenger, passive, passe. I'm passing, like I'm not engaged. Right? No, that's a real word. I'm not taking a shot. That's true.
And so I've had to take the initiative recently to drive places myself so that I know my way around. Because, you know, I know how to get to and from work, to my parents' house, to my daughter's house. That's pretty much it. And so I've taken the initiative to be able to get myself around, because that's not his responsibility. If I want to go somewhere and he doesn't feel like going, if we're not going together, he shouldn't have to be my chauffeur to drive me somewhere.
Her private Uber driver.
You know, because I am not taking responsibility for myself in getting where I need to get.
Absolutely. So we're talking about fixing broken fences. For those of you all who are just jumping in, do me a favor, tag a friend, tag someone, particularly if they're a couple. Share this out. If you're a replay viewer, I'd love for you to type the word replay in, because here's what I know, guys. When you decide to put yourself in a position where you're being empowered, when you decide to educate yourself or put yourself in a community that's empowering, I think about couples sometimes, babe, who are these isolated entities of themselves. And because they're not around other couples that are empowering type people, they think that what they're doing, many cases, is normal. So I've heard people say, well, no, it's normal for people to fight. It's normal for couples to fight, to argue. I disagree with that. I don't think that's normal. I think that's a learned behavior, and that's something that you have become accustomed to. And so therefore you now call that acceptable. I don't think that's normal. And the reason why is because I don't think that's healthy. Now, we didn't say that you shouldn't disagree. Of course you're going to disagree. You're two individuals, but argue, fight, fuss, go to bed mad, 3 weeks of not talking to each other, sleeping on the couch. I have never slept on the couch in 19 years unless I wanted to, because I was tired or just stayed up late, fell asleep watching TV. It's never been, you're on the couch tonight. That's never happened in almost 20 years, because that's not normal for us. And so I think that what I want people to really walk away with, babe, is that boundaries assist you when it comes to be able to engage in an empowering relationship in a real healthy way.
And I think the thing is, and Karen touched on it, basically, she was saying that, you know, boundaries, that when you step outside of your comfort zone, it helps you to go. The thing about relationships, you want to be in a relationship that's empowering, because the goal in relationships is to grow, to have continual growth. And so boundaries help. When you have healthy boundaries in place, you both are able to grow, because you're both able to empower one another, own your own stuff, and be able to be a benefit to each
Absolutely.
other versus being a hindrance to each other.
Right.
You know, when you enable another person, you know, you think about enabling, you know, like an addict, and you're enabling that person, that is harming that other person because you're allowing them to continue doing some type of negative or hurtful behavior to themselves. The same is true in relationships. If I constantly step in and take over things that you're responsible for, I'm handicapping you.
Yeah.
I'm enabling you, and that is not healthy for you. And so you have to look at boundaries are to improve the health of you as individuals, to improve the health of your relationship.
I love it.
And it's ultimately designed to empower each of you to own your own stuff.
I love it. I love it. I love it. If you guys want to catch the replay of any of our Breakfast with the Brookses, we're starting to load them up every week. If you're just jumping in and you didn't catch this replay, just go to youtube.com. After the show sometime, you know, we're going to go ahead and load this up to that page. And I want you guys to go there because here's the deal. It's going to be something that's really robust over time. Some things that we're going to do there, and it's really going to be pretty exciting. So I want to get you guys in the habit of subscribing to our YouTube channel. We got to learn to say that now.
Yes,
and we're going to start leveling up because here's what I realized. I had somebody that just joined the YouTube channel last week.
Our first new subscriber.
We were so excited. And literally said, wow, I needed this. Mm-hmm. And here's what I realized. You know, Cherie and I started MAPS because we recognized that there was a need. Mm-hmm. There was a need for people who were either embarrassed, perhaps they were dysfunctional, mm-hmm. perhaps they're cheap, mm-hmm. right? They don't think they need to invest in themselves. And I realized that their relationships are coming unglued unnecessarily. And I think the thing that burdens my heart, I heard you say this to our MAPS ladies. I overheard as I was walking through the room because I pray, I pray that I'm never in the same room when she's talking with her ladies, because it's like, I got to go find another room because y'all go in and I love it. But I overheard you saying as I was walking through the room, and I heard you say something to the effect of it burdens your heart to see people's relationships come unglued.
Right.
And that's why we do what we do, because we don't want to see another person fall victim to ignorance anymore.
Right. I don't want to see anybody go through what I've gone through.
Right.
I mean, I have 2 failed marriages under my belt, a number of failed relationships. And if I can help another person not go through that pain, and even though I was young and at the time I wouldn't have said it was painful, but now hindsight, it was painful.
Sure.
It was, I mean, it tore, you know, it was 2 people being torn apart.
Sure.
You know, it was traumatic. And to go through that pain is not something I wish on anybody.
Yeah.
I am a firm believer that most issues that couples experience are workable. You can work through them if you're willing to do the work. Most issues you're dealing with your kids as parents, if you have the correct tools, you can work through that. You don't have to throw your child away. You don't have to, give up on your child and just say, I'm done.
Right. I'm done with you.
There are things that you can do. There are steps, even as they're older. There are ways that you can turn that relationship around. I'm a firm believer in that, but it's going to take work. It's going to take, you being transparent. It's going to take you owning your stuff and allowing them to own their stuff. And if you have been enabling them up to this point, they're going to go kicking and screaming when you start giving them responsibility, but they're going to be okay.
They're going to be okay. Guys, I want to encourage you to definitely join the group. We are in a series where we're breaking down these boundaries. We're teaching people how to erect them. When is it proper? When is it not proper? How to put a gate on your fence? Why there's a such thing as people think boundaries are walls, but they're really fences that should have gates. Well, gates have locks. Some of them are padlocks. Some of them are chain locks. Some of them are combination locks. But there are reasons why you put certain locks on certain gates, because you're creating boundaries. Because the idea, especially where relationships are concerned, is to allow both entrance and exit. There are things that you're supposed to be responsible for. There are good things you want to keep inside your fence. There are bad things that you want to let out of the gate. And if you don't have a gate on your fence, if you don't have that kind of that point where people can come and go emotionally, then you're going to be in trouble. And so do me a favor, if you can, come grow with us. www.thecrcoach.com. Just click the link and it'll set you up with
schedule a free coaching assessment with us so we can sit down and talk to you and see where you best fit. If we're a fit for you, if you're a fit for us.
Yep.
Hopefully we can grow together. Hopefully we can help you. And also, we want to remind you guys. Where is it?
What are you looking for, babe?
The YouTube.
Oh.
Gotta do that again. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Subscribe to our YouTube
she's
channel.
Enjoying the idea of saying, please subscribe to our
YouTube channel. Where is it? There it is.
It's okay, but it's just going to keep going. You can just keep doing it. She is so goofy. Like,
I'm so excited about this. We've been talking about doing it for a number of months, and we finally started uploading stuff. And we just want to be able to share with more and more people. Absolutely.
Guys, we got to get out of here. I got a meeting I got to go to. We got the grandkids this weekend. I'm super excited. TheCRCoach.com is where you can find us. You can subscribe to us on our YouTube page. Again, it's TheCRCoach.com. It's YouTube. Yes, baby. Go ahead.
One last thing. Last week, we put it out. If you know anybody or if you have an idea for a theme song for us for Breakfast with the Brooks, we are serious. Send us your suggestions. Put it in the comments or however you do. Send us your contact information. DM us. Is that the right term?
No, but go ahead.
You guys know what I mean. Send us a message. Whatever. Let us know. We really are looking for somebody to help us to develop a theme song for our show.
Right.
Especially now that we're on YouTube.
We
got to go to the
next level. So all my songwriters, all my lyricists, all my people, I can't use something that's already being used. Right. Unfortunately, it's called copyrights and you're not allowed to do that. So
we're taking submissions.
We're taking submissions for theme songs. Even if you like the way a song sounds, let us know. Drop it in the chat or better yet, subscribe to our page and let us know. I think that this will be a great idea. We've had some people already send us some ideas of which we're going to take the idea and figure out if we can create a song that's specific to our page and all that good stuff. We're trying to level up and go to the next level, guys. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Saturdays, 8 a.m. Breakfast with the Brookses. At the end of the day, guys, I promise you cannot get anywhere you want to be, not any place of significance, by yourself. We like to leave people with hashtag. We all need some help. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a great Saturday.